What you are looking at here, dear viewer, is a man who has experienced a very different kind of alien probing. His blood has just boiled, his bones have just fractured, and his flesh has just been repurposed. This is just one part in the sequence of gory events that awaits you if you become a necromorph in Dead Space. This is Mike, and he just secured a new job working for the CEC aboard the USG Ishimura, and he is the poor devil that finds himself slowly descending into space hell. Come along, dear viewers, and let's see how Mike gets on in his new job. I wouldn't get too settled, Mike. But while Mike dusts off his plasma cutter and has a cheeky tug to a hollow of his space girlfriend, who is absolutely alive and not dead and not the alien intelligence trying to manipulate Mike in any way, let us provide some context for those unfamiliar with the lore. But first, a quick word about today's sponsor. SCP fans, check out these insane new playing cards. There are 3 different decks to choose from: the SARKIC Cult, the Church of the Broken God, and the SCP Foundation. Check out the designs for the standard white deck, don't they look amazing? Check out 999 and 105. Even better, check out the Black Edition. The SCP Foundation Black deck comes with a holographic foil finish, the Broken God comes with a metallic silver finish, and the SARKIC Cult comes with a blood-themed red finish. You can also get these full metal coin sets, including the Nine-Tailed Fox Challenge coin, the Token of Yolda Bayoth, and the Gear of McCain, and a Nine-Tailed Fox t-shirt. And finally, check out these premium box sets: the Rival of Gods box set, the O5 Collector box set, and finally the Black Edition of the O5 box set. These are by far the most beautiful SCP-themed card sets that VIPC have produced so far, and if you want to get your own, check out my comment down below and follow the link today. In the year 2508, as Earth languished in a sorry state, ravaged by the relentless exploitation and consumption of its natural resources, a visionary individual emerged from the chaos and said, "Oh, I've got an idea. How about we go and consume the resources of another planet?" The bigwigs were like, "You son of a bitch, I'm in." And so humanity heralded the age of planet cracking. Spearheaded by the Concordance Extraction Corporation, also known as the CEC, it involved the very delicate and precise act of snapping off a bit of another planet to harvest the resources from it. Moving forward, and a magnificent fleet of planet crackers now graced the skies, restoring Earth to its former splendor. Resources flowed abundantly, and humanity enjoyed a resurgent era of prosperity. Hooray! Among this illustrious fleet, the USG Ishimura stood as the flagship, a symbol of pioneering achievement as the first ever Planet Cracker class vessel. It would be on the ship's final 35th mission to crack the planet Aegis 7 that it all went to pot and the future of humanity was threatened once more. Let's delve into the topic of religion, dear viewers. Religion can offer solace, a sense of belonging, and a tight-knit community to some. To others, it can become embroiled in corruption or wielded as a tool for power. It can even lead to disturbing physical transformation, coupled with paranoia and hysteria. Where do you think Dead Space fits into this spectrum? Enter the Church of Unitology, a cult with roots dating back nearly 300 years to its foundation in 2215. This religious movement traces its origins to a man named Michael Altman, who stumbled upon an extraordinary artifact known as the Black Marker, an otherworldly object resembling a double helix discovered within a crater right here on Earth. The faithful followers of this cult, aptly named Unitologists, firmly believe that the Black Marker possesses the key to divine knowledge, the secrets of evolution, and the promise of eternal life. These crackpots view death as merely the beginning, and believe that through the blessings and wisdom bestowed by the marker, humanity will ascend and experience a collective rebirth, an event referred to as the Convergence. Now then, when the USG Ishimura cracked Aegis 7, guess what they found? A red marker, a copy of the Black Marker placed there about 200 years earlier for experimental purposes by the sovereign colonies. It was abandoned following a catastrophic necromorph outbreak. Well, once the Church of Unitology got wind of this discovery, that was it. They leveraged an existing quarantine over Aegis 7. They positioned their agents in high-ranking roles of the USG Ishimura's crew and planned to take possession of the marker and discover its secrets, without any outside meddling. Right then, let's get into the juicy stuff. So the markers put out this signal. This signal manipulates the brains of most living beings, leading to a peculiar form of dementia that manifests in a variety of disturbing ways. Those affected might find themselves plagued by hallucinations, gripped by paranoia or hysteria, and in some instances, overwhelmed by a seething rage which can drive victims to suicide or even homicide. For higher intelligence individuals, however, the signal takes on a more sinister role, as it embeds the blueprints for the construction of additional markers into the minds of its victims. This allows them to proliferate their influence, spreading their power to even wider reaches of existence. There is also another signal it puts out, an instruction, the genetic code of the Necromorph. This signal changes the genetic and neural code of dead beings and reanimates the dead into extremely aggressive, murderous creatures that will hunt and slaughter every uninfected organism on sight. Now, the reason this is a thing links back to the convergence and the entities referred to as the Brethren Moons. The Brethren Moons are moon-sized necrotic life forms hell-bent on consuming all biological life. It is them that construct black markers and then deploy them throughout the galaxy until they encounter intelligent life. Upon contact with these sentient beings, the markers broadcast a signal that unfolds in 3 unsettling ways. A. Driving individuals to either suicide or homicide. B. Transforming them into necromorphs dedicated to hunting down the uninfected. Or C. Imprinting intricate instructions within the minds of highly intelligent entities, compelling them to construct additional subordinate red markers, thus magnifying the scope of their influence. Once a sufficient amount of necrotic flesh has been gathered by a marker, a convergence event will be triggered, and all the mass will be sucked up into the sky, and a new Brethren Moon will be constructed. So that's the basic background lore. Now let's check in with Mike. So there was Mike sitting at his desk, filling out some acquisition orders for the newly acquired payload from Aegis 7. He did not subscribe to unitology, but he had heard rumours in the corridors about what they had found down there. A marker. He found it all quite intriguing. He had noticed a weird vibe amongst the crew as of late. Everyone seemed to be a bit off. They weren't as cheery. No one cracked jokes now or made the effort to make something a bit better. Rather, people were twitchy and on edge. They were complaining of hearing random sounds and whispering. Could it be a coincidence? As the days passed by, Mike noted a lot of his fellow crewmates starting to become panicked and paranoid. Some even claimed to be hallucinating. He watched in shock as one man began slamming his head into the wall, screaming that it was in his head. What was in his head? Members of the medical staff very quickly carted off anyone displaying similar symptoms. Next were the lockdowns. People were turning on each other. There were reports, rumours and sightings of paranoid people running around with anything sharp, killing themselves or others while screaming gibberish. Mike himself was also now starting to hear the voices, see the visions. He pictured a double helix-shaped object standing tall in front of him. Was this the marker? On the day of the planet crack, the colony below went dark, and Mike began hearing rumours of horrendous things going on down there. Monsters on a rampage, carving up everything they came across. At the same time, the captain had ordered a cease on all traffic and communication between the colony and the Ishimura. What was going on? Was it the unitologists? What was going on with his colleagues? They were changing. Some were raving about the church and how the convergence was coming. Some were found hanging in their rooms or slumped on the floor with bullet wounds in their heads. There were drawings of the double helix object he had seen in his visions, as well as symbols and runes scribbled in blood on the wall behind them. A loud bang rocked the ship, and within hours, Mike began to hear the most ungodly screams and sounds quickly approaching his part of the ship. One of his colleagues ran into the room holding a knife and chanting about the marker. He revealed that the captain was dead and that a ship had crashed into them. It had come from the colony and it was carrying what they would all become. The man raised his blade, but before he could strike, a serrated piece of bone impaled him through the chest. Mike recoiled in terror as the man slumped to the ground, and from behind him stood a 7-foot-tall monster with hanging entrails, serrated appendages coming from its back, and twisted, broken arms reaching out from below its ribs. It roared and lunged at Mike, who fell sideways over his desk. He thrust the desk into the creature and ran out into the corridor. He sprinted to what he hoped was safety, but everywhere was just more of the same. He saw flesh beginning to spread across the walls, spilling from the vents. It pulled his feet into it further with every step. Every wall was either covered in blood or the scribbles and runes he had seen before. He rounded another corridor and saw a large yellow round creature spewing bile and tiny fleshy creatures all over a woman screaming, who gagged as the fleshy things entered her blistered mouth. He doubled back but was met by another monster blocking his way, coming right at him. He stumbled back, but he was pinned to the wall by a serrated barb that impaled his hand. He screamed in pain and turned to see a babyish creature on the wall waving tentacles at him with more barbs poised to strike. Mike gritted his teeth and pulled his hand free, tearing a good chunk of flesh and bone with it. He ducked as another monster leaped and soared over him. This one appeared to be missing the lower half of its body, with its legs and intestines fusing into a sort of tail. Mike crawled away only to hear a low moaning sound in front of him. He looked up to see a tall, lanky thing made of several body parts, none of which belonged to each other. A terrified Mike stumbled to his feet and ran down another corridor. He turned to see a group of those things chasing after him, all teeth and blood and claws. A cackling from in front of him drew his attention back, and he skidded to a stop as a gangly-looking mess lumbered towards him holding a pulsating yellow bag. There was no way out. Fuck. This was it. The thing with the yellow bag threw it against the floor. It exploded, and Mike was thrown backwards into the horde. Mike could not even begin to process the acid burns and shrapnel injuries before several bone blades began hacking him to death. He felt a very brief sharp pain as his body was pierced in multiple places, and then the shock and blood loss very quickly soothed his passing. Shortly after, a bat-like monster began making its way down the corridors. It was on a mission. It found the still warm corpse of Mike perfect. A long proboscis-like appendage emerged from the head region and drilled its way through Mike's skull. The Necromorph pathogen was injected straight into Mike's brain. The process was fast and violent. First he began to twitch and spasm as electrical signals and instructions flooded his brain once more. His muscles began to mutate and degrade as they were either reinforced or the tissue was recycled elsewhere. His bones bent and snapped like dead wood as the muscles pulled them into new positions. His arms were pinned to his side, and his abdominal flesh began to grow through them. His organs were consumed, and two new long bladed appendages burst from his back, stretching upwards and forwards. It all happened so fast. The energy created was immense, and Mike's stagnant blood boiled away and ruptured through the frail skin, slowly leaking away or evaporating. Mike stood up and his jaw parted to reveal a new set of fangs, and a mouthful of pulsating worm-like creatures fell out. He moaned and roared, and then set off to find more flesh for the marker. Convergence was near. Check out this video for another great story, and if you made it this far, then please give the video a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And special thanks to Ryan Brenner, Techno Ninja, Infinitune, Viger, Andre Bachert, and Sigrus.